Would you stand and worship with us? Who am I that the highest King would welcome me? I was lost, but he brought me in. Oh, his love for me. Oh, his love for me. Who the Son sets free, all is free indeed. I'm a child of God, yes I am. Free at last, he has ransomed me. His grace runs deep, amen. While I was a slave to sin, Jesus died for me. Yes, he died for me. Who the Son sets free, oh, is free indeed. I'm a child of God, yes I am. In my Father's house, there's a place for me. I'm a child of God, yes I am chosen, not forsaken. I am who you say I am. You are for me, not against me. I am who you say I am. I am chosen, not forsaken. I am who you say I am. You are for me, not against me. I am who you say I am. Yes, I am who you say I am. Who the Son sets free, all is free indeed. I'm a child of God, yes I am. In my Father's house, there's a place for me. I'm a child of God, yes I am. In my Father's house, there's a place for me. I'm a child of God, yes I am. Let these words wash over you. I am chosen. God chose me. I am not forsaken. I will never be left behind or abandoned by the living God. So we sing it out. I am chosen.
Sing song. I am chosen, not forsaken. You are for me, not against me. I am chosen, not forsaken. I am who you say I am. You are for me, not against me. I am who you say I am. I am chosen, not forsaken. I am who you say I am. You are for me, not against me. I am who you say I am. I am chosen, not forsaken. I am who you say I am. You are for me, not against me. No, I am who you say
Man, that's good. We are forever people because we are forever changed. I love it. Can we just give the band thanks? Tell them thank you for kicking it off well. Yeah, so good. I'll tell you what, I'm in a really good mood because on my way in this morning, I was driving down Power Road just after Starbucks, and we passed the cornfields, and I looked at my thermometer, and it said 59 degrees. Yeah, we can sing about that too. That's good. Then I turn my radio on and it says, hey, guess what? Get excited. Christmas is only 79 days away. And then I thought to myself, yeah, you almost got me there. But you know what? That means we're 78 days away from Christmas Eve services. So I'm excited already for Christmas Eve services. You should be thinking about who you're going to invite. But here's the deal. Between now and today, we have so much going on at Mission. I just want to encourage you in. So we have December 1st is our 4K race. I got my joggers on today. I'm secretly training. I guess you all know now. And so anybody who's competitive, you want to race me on December 1st, I want to go and register for that. That's going to be awesome. Actually, registration link is going to be coming out here very, very soon. And then November is the whole month is dedicated to Love Works. We're going to bless the socks off our community here. But there's one thing I want you to be invited to, which is our group link night. So if you are not in community, I want you to mark the calendar of October 22nd. You can go to group link, missionggrouplink.com and register for that. Now here's the deal. It's a one-night event, takes about 90 minutes, and at the end of it, you are going to be a part of a community. And so if you've done this before and maybe your group didn't actually follow through with it, I just want to encourage you to come back. Try it again. Keep coming back. You're going to find a group here, and it is amazing. I'll tell you right now, one of the biggest blessings in my life is that I'm a part of a group of people who encourage me, to push me, hold me accountable, and just love on me. And I tell you what, I love it, and I couldn't figure out what life would look like without them, to be quite honest. And so I want to encourage you to do that. Jump into community. It's really important around here, and you're going to need it, and we need it. We all need it together. So let's do this. Let's pray for the Cardinals. Okay, we don't need to do that because we're all 49er fans or Seahawk fans. I'm just kidding. But turn to the person next to you and say, is it time to go to hot coffee, or do we stick with iced coffee? Let's go.
I want to ask you a question. Have you ever felt helpless? Like your back's against the wall, like you have no choice but to fear? Well, God says you don't have to fear. You don't have to feel that way. You always have an option, and our option, His Word says, is to praise Him. His Word says that our praise summons His power. And so when you feel like you don't have a choice, you have the choice to praise. So today we're gonna learn a new song. We're gonna raise a hallelujah in the face of what seeks to destroy us. Are you ready? Let's choose to praise today. Come on.
I'll raise a hallelujah in the presence of my enemies. I'll raise a hallelujah louder than my unbelief. I'll raise a hallelujah. My weapon is a melody. I'll raise a hallelujah. Heaven comes to fight.
middle of the storm. Louder and louder, you gotta hear my praises roar. Up from the ashes, hope will arise. Death is defeated, the King is alive.
When darkness tries to roll over my bones, when sorrow comes to steal the joy I own, when brokenness and pain is all I know, no, I won't be shaken. No, I won't be shaken. We sing. My feet doesn't stand a chance when I stand in your love. My feet doesn't stand a chance when I stand in your love. My feet doesn't stand a chance when I stand in your love. Oh, shame no longer has a place to hide. And I am not a captive to the lies. I'm not afraid to leave my past behind. No, I won't be shaken. No, I won't be shaken. My feet doesn't stand a chance when I stand in your love. My feet doesn't stand a chance. I love that song. I love that line. Standing in your love, God. In the midst of our fears, our guilt, things that scare us. There's just something about that. I know we've sung that song a lot. And sometimes when you say things over and over, it sort of loses its magic, you know. But God's love doesn't lose its magic. It surrounds us. It picks us up. And I am not naive enough to to think that everybody came in here this morning perfectly done up with everything together. Not a worry or a care. I'm not that naive. I know that people are walking in here this morning feeling like they can't stand. They don't want to stand. God, where are you? But that is the amazing truth of what we just sang, is that God's love surrounds us so much that it picks us up when we don't want to stand, when we can't stand, when we don't know what to do. God's love surrounds us, holds us up, and says, I'm standing for you. I'm standing for you. That's our God this morning. A God of love, a God who cares so deeply about his children that he sent his son for us. Love incarnate, come for you, coming for me, and holding us up this morning. It's been amazing to sing with you this morning. Thank you so much. Y'all can have a seat. We're going to continue to worship by receiving an offering, and so I'm going to invite our volunteers down to do that.
Well, good morning, Mission. Are you guys familiar with the drive line at school? Like drop off, pickup line? Maybe if you have kids, then you know, that are in school, you know what that is. Or maybe you had kids and you remember dropping them off, or maybe like you remember as a kid being dropped off in that line. They're supposed to be a well-oiled machine. But here's what I found. There is always one person that feels the need to park their car, get out of their car, walk around to the other side, open the door for their kids, and then proceed to unbuckle all their kids, to which I want to say, ma'am, your child is 11. I think they can unbuckle themselves. And then they close the door, but then one of their kids has forgotten their backpack, so they open the door again and get the backpack. Kid puts the backpack on, they wait until they're almost in school, and then they walk around to the other side of the vehicle, back in, get in the driver's seat, roll the windows down, and wave at them as they drive off. Maybe you've seen that person. I'll tell you what though, my daughter, she's not gonna be that way. I'm training her differently. So with the school that my kids go to, as you round the corner, you can like see the drive line. So I tell her in the moment, I'm like, baby, it's go time. Here we go. So I unlock the doors. I tell her, you start to unbuckle, you get ready. And when we get close, you open the door and you tuck and roll. We are going right through this line. So I'm training her well, I think. But I tell you what, if she's not gonna be the one that we get up there, she knows the routine. She knows she's supposed to just get out and go. And then she's like, well, she needs to sing one more line of her song, and she needs to give one more hug, and she needs to tell me one more thing. And so now I'm becoming the one that's stopping the whole line. Drive line is so stressful and it's frustrating. I wish people had the same sort of urgency that I did, but they don't. Because what we're talking about today is the word sloth. And what they're showing in that moment is sloth. See, our society hasn't been super kind to this word. We either use it to describe the person in the drive lane who is becoming me, and that's not a great thing, or we use it to describe the animal. You've heard of the animal, the sloth, right? It sometimes looks like this, come on. I mean, look at that, that's cute. But wait, it grows into this monster here. Look at that thing. Look at that nail. That's, if somebody just said, aw, you're looking at the wrong picture. We use the word sloth to describe, can you imagine getting chased down by that little demon? Here's some random, you wouldn't get chased, because here's a random fact about sloths that you may not know. They don't move fast. In fact, they move at the rapid rate of 6 feet per minute. All right, I timed it. I didn't actually time a sloth. I timed what it would take for a sloth to move from right here to the top of the worship center and back, like to collect our offering, which, can we just pause just a second and just say thank you to all of our guest services and that whole team for what they do week in and week out to make this place run? It would take a sloth 45 minutes to get up to the top and back down, just hitting one row. Can you imagine what kind of worship service that would be? It wouldn't be a lot of fun, right? They move so slow that algae grows on their fur. They have moths and beetles and cockroaches that live and then embed themselves down into their fur. So for the one person that when we put up the picture of that monster, you went, oh, I see you, I see you. There were cockroaches on this thing right there. Sloths sleep 15 to 20 hours every single day. You know, we're in the middle of this series on the difference between being conformed to your culture, conformed to your environment, conformed to the ways of this world versus being transformed and not just being transformed, but transforming everything around you. The sloth is the very definition of being conformed. You know what his best defense is? That nothing else sees it, because it moves so slow that it actually blends into the tree that it's hanging onto. That's his best defense. Well, that's what a sloth is. What does it mean for us though? When I say sloth, what do you think it means for your life? Well, most of us would say it means being lazy, right? The problem is that's a lazy way to approach the word sloth, because it means a lot more than that. See, there's a big difference between being a sloth and being lazy. Laziness means you just don't do any work. You sit around all day, every day, no job. It's the prototypical like 40-year-old guy that's still living at home in his parents' basement playing video games with no job. That's laziness. Sloth, though, is different. Sloth comes from an old Latin word called acedia. This is it right here. Acedia means without care. It means indifferent. There's without care for your own personal growth, without care or indifference towards others and the needs of others. You know, and this really has the chance to affect each and every one of us. No matter your age, no matter your stage in life, no matter your job, has the chance to affect every one of us. Have you ever heard of procrastination? You know, procrastination is a great example of what it's like to be a sloth, because procrastination isn't the definition of doing nothing. Procrastination tends to be you're doing a lot of things. You're just not doing the one thing that you should be doing to be productive. And in a flurry of often meaningless activity and lack of growth, sloth tells us something. Sloth lies to us. Sloth says this, it says you're good. Sloth says, even though everything around you may be falling apart, and inside you know you might be as well. But hey, everything outside is functioning okay. And so sloth's lie says no matter what's going on around you, you're good. And we're not just talking about spiritual things here, although I think it'd be easy to kind of drift towards that as you're sitting in church. We're not just talking about spiritual things. Maybe you've said this before. Somebody asked you, do you want to join the gym with me? Or do you want to go to the gym with me? And you look at them and you go, nah, I'm good. Or maybe somebody else says, hey, I love to run. Would you want to go on a run with me? And you say, well, is somebody chasing us? No, I'm good, I'll pass. Or maybe somebody else says, hey, let's start eating healthy. And you say, nah, I think I'm good with that too. Or maybe a little bit more serious, a little bit heavier issue. Maybe your spouse says, hey, maybe it's time for us to go to counseling. And you say, nah, I'm good. Or maybe a buddy of yours says, can we join a Bible study together? And you say, I think I'm all right. I think I'm good. See, even when everything around you is raging, like a raging river, the sloth still says, you're good. I want you to watch this video. It's the video of a sloth being rescued. Let's watch this. I'm gonna kind of talk over it. So there was this group of people that were going down the river, and they saw this sloth here that had fallen. The branch had fallen into the water, and the sloth was on the branch when it fell. Here's what I want you to notice. If the sloth fell in the water, which sloths can swim, but not across a raging river like this, the sloth would die. It is moments from its death. But watch this. It's like, nope, I'm good. I'm good. I mean, he's literally got somebody that's trying to save him, that's almost gonna die himself, that's reaching out this branch, and the sloth will just slowly reach up its arm, and then it'll pull it back. See, there we go. This goes on for 7 minutes. And in fact, this guy can't even rescue it from this side. He has to pull the boat around to the other side. This is almost painful to watch. I'm like, sloth, just come on, get in the boat. He goes around to the other side and gets the boat around at a different angle because the sloth is just, it's like he doesn't even care. He's moments from his death, but doesn't even care. Here's what I want you to see. I want you to see the end of it too, because so just spoiler, the sloth gets saved. He's good, he lived to see another day. But wouldn't you think that right after you get saved, like you almost died, you got a little bit of energy to you, a little bit of care. Here's what happens when they put him on the shore. You see him right here? He's right there. They put him on the shore, and he's just racing away from this water that could have killed him. See, the sloth says, look, everything around you could be this raging river that at any moment could be your undoing. But you look at that and you go, I'm good. I'm good. See, sloth can ruin friendships. Because you look at a difficult relationship, a difficult friendship, and you go, you know what? I don't think that's worth my time. I don't think that's worth my effort. I'm just not gonna engage. Or maybe you look at your job and you say, do I really need to improve? Do I really need to get better? Do I really need to put the effort in? I think I'm good. Or maybe you look at your marriage, and maybe you're in a downswing in your marriage. Maybe you're in just kind of a neutral zone, but you look at it and you go, do I really want to put the effort in to make it better? Do I really want to work at this? Maybe you're slothful with your kids, but whatever this is, it ends up bleeding into our communities because it begins to affect everything that we are and everything that we do. And you know what makes this deadly? You can get away with it. That's the most deadly part of this, is that you can be a sloth and you can lull yourself into thinking that you can get away with it. There's a friend of mine in high school, and I remember this test so vividly. We were taking an AP US history test, and I had studied so long and so hard for it, and I felt like I was ready. Well, my buddy, we get to the test day, and I was asking him, I was like, okay, are you ready? And he said, I guess I'm ready, whatever. And then, of course, he did way better than I did, and it crushed me. Not just because he didn't care, but because he got away with it. See, that's the dangerous part about sloth, is that you can live like that and get away with it. See, it's not just that this sin will rot you from the inside out, it's that it'll rot you and you'll think you're okay. And the hard part about our fight against sloth is that you don't have the energy or the desire to fight, which is precisely what you need if you're gonna have any victory over this in your life. We're gonna go to the scriptures and we're gonna see what the scriptures would have to say about this. So we're gonna look at the very last book of the Bible. It's called the book of Revelation. We're gonna be in Revelation 3 to see where this sin originates, where it comes from, and then how we in Gilbert, Arizona are particularly in danger of this sin. So let me tell you a little bit about the first few chapters of the book of Revelation. Jesus writes 7 letters to 7 different churches, which these were actual churches in history. And they were a mix of warnings and encouragement that he wrote to them. And the one that we're gonna look at was in a city called Laodicea. And they just called this the church at Laodicea. Laodicea was a church that had found comfort and security in something other than Jesus. And so we're gonna see what that is. See, Jesus uses 2 perfect illustrations to help them see their need. And they're gonna be lost on us if we don't do just a little bit of historical research to see exactly what it was that Jesus was pointing at. So let me tell you about Laodicea. Laodicea was an incredibly important city. It was a wealthy, flourishing city that would be in what is now known as modern day Turkey. It was wealthy, it was a trade city. It was on this trade route that went from west to east. And there are 3 primary industries it was known for. One was textiles. So they would produce this black wool that everybody wanted. And specifically, the most wealthy people in the world wanted this cloth. And the only people that made it were the people in Laodicea, which also led to an incredible farming industry because they had to produce this wool from sheep. That also meant that that didn't also mean. Second industry was medicine. So there was a big medical school that was in Laodicea, and they would produce doctors. And these doctors, one of the biggest things that they would do is they would make this eye salve that everybody from all around the region wanted because it healed different ailments in their eye. So people from all over the region would come to Laodicea because this was the only place that you could get this particular eye salve that everybody needed. Which then led into, because of all this money and all this growth that they experienced, that led them to have a thriving banking industry. So this didn't just add to their wealth, it multiplied their wealth. So much so that in AD 60, there was an earthquake that leveled the entire city. And Laodicea was a Roman city, so they could have gotten a lot of support, financial support from Rome to help rebuild. But they refused it. They said, we don't need it. We have so much money and so many resources that we actually don't even need Rome's money, so they could rebuild it themselves. So they were experiencing explosive growth, not just in money, not just in these industries, but everybody wanted to live in Laodicea as well. And because of this, you can probably imagine that their water supply was something they had to keep an eye on. See, Laodicea was on a river. It was called the Lycus River, but it was dirty and it wasn't drinkable. And on top of that, in the dry seasons, the river would completely go away. And so they had to build this whole infrastructure of piping water in. So there were 2 main stone pipes that they had built. One that connected 15 miles north to a city called Hierapolis, and it would bring in this warm water that they would use medicinally to help people feel better. And then another pipe that went 10 miles east to a city called Colossae. It would bring in cool, refreshing water that they would drink. So, with all of that as a background and all of those details really matter, let's look at what Jesus' warning to the church at Laodicea was. He says, I know your deeds, that you are neither cold nor hot. I wish you were either one or the other. See, here was the problem. With the water that was brought in, when it was brought into Laodicea, it was piped into the city, and then they would keep it stored in big, huge barrels throughout the city. And it would go from being warm and useful and medicinal to kind of lukewarm. And it would go from being cold, refreshing, to being lukewarm. And Jesus is saying, I wish you were either cold or hot. I wish you were useful one way or the other. It's kind of like coffee. Who in here, no matter even when it's like 145 degrees here in Arizona, who in here still drinks hot coffee? I heard an oh yeah down here. This is one of the most polarizing things is to talk about the temperature of your coffee. Who in here though, no matter what, even when and here's what I've said, we've been in Arizona 2 years, and I've realized that if it drops into the 50s, I'm a part of this, we are freezing, right? But who, no matter how cold it gets in Arizona, you're still gonna drink iced coffee, okay? This is like half the room, okay? But who drinks their coffee lukewarm? Nobody. Oh, one person, you're ruining my illustration here, okay? Hang with me. We don't like I love my coffee cold. I don't love it room temperature though. I love it how it was created to be. Some of you love your coffee hot, but you don't want it to be room temperature. You want it either cold or hot, right? Most of us, that's how we want our coffee. So to bring that back to the illustration that Jesus was using, he's not just talking about water though, or coffee. He says, I know your deeds. I know what you've been doing. I've been observing you. I know how you've been acting. And what Jesus is saying to the Laodiceans is, I wish you were being useful and effective, but you're not useful. In fact, you're the opposite of that. You're useless. And you know, this is us. When we have an opportunity to grow, when we look at that opportunity and say, you know, I'm good. Or we see somebody else in need and we look at them and we say, not now, I'm good. See, that right there is the sloth's lie to us. This is us every time that we're presented with something where we have an opportunity to step towards something that's difficult and grow. And in fact, if you remember the video that we watched, this is us when we're the sloth that's above the river. And everything is raging around us, and we have an opportunity to move towards something that is difficult, but that is so good for us and so good for our growth, and we know it. But we look at that stick and we go, nah, you know what? I'm okay. I'm just gonna hang here. I'm gonna hang on this branch here. So let's see what Jesus said to them after this. He said, so because you are lukewarm, you're neither hot nor cold, I am about to, and what do you think Jesus is gonna say to the church? I mean, you know how Jesus is, right? He's full of grace, he's full of mercy, he's full of patience, which is what we love. We want that in our lives. And so I would love to finish this sentence with, so because you are lukewarm, I'm about to be patient with you and kind with you. But that is not how Jesus finishes this sentence. Here's what he says. Since you are neither hot nor cold, I am about to spit you out of my mouth. What in the world would cause Jesus to say that to a church? The literal translation is, I'm about to vomit you out of my mouth. This is violent language that Jesus is using. You know how long it takes a stagnant or a body of water to become stagnant? Stagnant means it doesn't have any output or any input. It takes about 2 to 3 days. It takes about 2 to 3 days to begin to form bacteria. And so that means when water is indifferent, when water doesn't go anywhere or come anywhere, it makes you sick. It makes you want to spew it out of your mouth. See, the church had made Jesus sick. They did nothing. They had the resources, the knowledge to go and do and become the type of church that would change the world, but they were slothful. They had so much, but they just said, you know, we're good. But the question is, how did they get to this spot? How did they get to this spot where they became slothful, where they had slid into this? And maybe the more pressing question for us is, how do we make sure that we don't get into that spot? Because I don't know about you, but I don't want to be in the spot where Jesus says of me, I'm about to spew you out of my mouth. You don't want that. I don't want that. So let's see how the Laodiceans got to that. The next verse says this. You say, I'm rich. I've acquired wealth and do not need a thing. See, the Laodiceans had grown comfortable with their lives. They were rich. And as they looked at their lives, they said, you know what? I don't need anything. See, the definition of sloth is indifference, but the root of sloth is comfort. This is where sloth comes from. It comes from comfort. And maybe you have money and this is what brings you comfort. But the question for you is, what is it that makes you feel like you are self-sufficient? Maybe it's you're comfortable relationally. Maybe you're comfortable in your marriage. And as you look at your marriage, you're going, no, I think we're okay. We're just not gonna work on it that much anymore. Maybe you're comfortable in your job and you don't feel like you need to grow or change or improve there. Maybe it's your physical health. And as you look at your life, you're going, I'm good. I'm not gonna worry about that. Maybe for you, you're comfortable spiritually. And you look at your spiritual life, the sum total of it is that you show up, you get a shot in the arm on a Sunday morning, and then you go about your life as if nothing is any different. See, as we dig into the history of Laodicea, here's what scares me. As I see how Laodicea operated, I see the potential for us in Gilbert, Arizona, that we are primed to become comfortable. You've seen the stats. You've seen the stats about our city, and this is part of what we love about our city, right? The highest median income in the country. Unemployment rate is well below the national average. Home prices are on the rise. We have the best schools in the state right here in the East Valley. It's one of the safest cities to live in the whole country. But behind all of that comfort, because that's what it is, behind all of that comfort, the rate of divorce is still on the rise. Prescription drug abuse is on the rise. Financial debt is out of control. We're dealing with emotional stresses like we've never dealt with before. Depression, and not just among adults, depression among teenagers and kids. See, we and our family and neighbors are struggling relationally. We're struggling physically with addictions, often alone, in pain, and most often behind well-manicured lawns that say to everybody else, we're okay. But inside we know that we're not. See, sloth says no matter what is going on around you, no matter what you look like on the outside, no matter what our community looks like, we're good, right? We're good. See, if the definition of sloth is indifference, the root of sloth is comfort. No matter what battles are raging inside and around us, isn't it true that we drift towards what's comfortable and what's easy and what we know? We say, well, I have what I need, and I show up to church and I show up to work and I provide a roof for my family and I put food on the table and I know my routine and my people and I'm comfortable with that. I really don't know that I have time for more people and more things and more stuff like that. See, another word for comfort is selfishness. Selfishness means I'm gonna prioritize my own comfort right here in this moment, what I want now and my current wants versus what will help me grow in the future. Selfishness prioritizes how I feel now over how I want to feel later. So that's why I'm gonna watch Netflix instead of playing with my kids. That's why I'm gonna work late so I don't have to work on my marriage. That's why I'm gonna hear about needs all throughout our community, but I'm just gonna pass them by because I'm good. I'm okay. Selfishness prioritizes me over you. And when we care more about our personal comfort and security than the well-being of others, then sloth or acedia is to blame. See, sloth's the kind of sin that chooses what's easy rather than what's good. Chooses what's easy rather than what's good. So instead of pursuing a difficult marriage, we pursue what's easy. Instead of pursuing meaningful work, we run from it. Anything that requires commitment and perseverance and pain and the potential for failure, which, side note, isn't that, if we look back across our lives, isn't that the thing, the season, the times when we've grown the most? Isn't that what often gives our life meaning and purpose? But instead, the sloth chooses what's easy rather than what's good. What's easy in life is rarely what's best. But in the middle of this sin, in the middle of thinking, okay, I've got my life together, I'm good. Because that's what the Laodiceans thought. As they looked at their life, as they took stock of their life, they said, okay, I'm good. I have wealth, And not just I have wealth, but more is coming in, so I'm good. Jesus' response to them says a lot. He says this, but you do not realize that you are wretched, pitiful, poor, blind, and naked. This is another brilliant illustration on Jesus' part. These words weren't chosen arbitrarily. These words pointed right at where the Laodiceans were. See, they thought they were rich, but they were broke. Jesus talks about being poor. Remember how they were a banking city? Being poor would mean, well, you don't have any money. They felt like they had money and they found their security there. He said, you are blind. Remember how they were the only ones throughout this whole region that produced this salve that everybody wanted on their eyes. And they thought, if anybody's not blind, we, the Laodiceans, aren't. And then Jesus said, you're naked. Remember, they clothed the most wealthy people all throughout the region. They produced clothes for other people. How could they be naked themselves? But Jesus says, you missed it. You had placed your comfort and your security and your well-being in those things. So you may feel like you have all you need. You may feel like you can see the real issue, that you have security, but what Jesus says to the Laodiceans and what he says to us is that we are poor and blind and naked. See, Jesus goes right after the things that we find our comfort and our security in. I don't know what that is for you and where you feel like you've grown comfortable, where you've grown lax. But isn't it true that when we grow comfortable, we stop growing? That's definitely true for us. My wife and I grew up in Tennessee. That was home for us forever. And then we moved from Tennessee to California, and we did not realize just how comfortable we had grown. We didn't realize that our lives in Tennessee were really on autopilot. And a lot of it for us was built around relationships. We were so relationally connected. Felt like we kind of knew everything. And so we didn't feel the need to reach out and form new relationships. We were just on autopilot, but we didn't realize it. But when we moved to California, we lost all of that security. And if you've ever moved a significant distance, you realize that in a move, you do lose everything that you hold as valuable, because it's those relationships that you don't have quick, easy access to anymore. See, comfort drives us towards indifference. And indifference says, well, I'm good. What's the point of continuing to invest? What's the point of continuing to grow? Comfort drives us towards indifference, not towards making a difference. Comfort never drives us to make a difference in our life or in the difference of other people's lives. We say, I'm good. I don't really need anything. Think back to the sloth. When we choose indifference and lukewarmness and slothfulness, it's like we have algae and moths and beetles growing on top of us. And we look at everybody else and we say, we're fine. I'm fine. I don't need anything. I have everything that I need. But other people see what's growing on us. If the root of sloth is comfort, then the antidote is discomfort. Not masochism, not pain for the sake of pain, but actively moving towards things that you know will cause you to grow, things that are uncomfortable for you, intentionally putting yourself in situations that make you feel uncomfortable. There is no growth in comfort, and there is no comfort in growth. And if you want to grow, you must get uncomfortable. Nobody drifts towards this naturally, though. Nobody drifts towards what's uncomfortable naturally. We drift towards what's easy and comfortable. You've got to take an active step. You can't just expect that you're going to one day wake up and be uncomfortable. We have to take an active step there. So this is what Jesus tells the Laodiceans to do, and then in return, this is what he tells us to do. Those whom I love, I rebuke and discipline. So be earnest and repent. Here I am. I stand at the door and knock. If anyone hears my voice and opens the door, I will come in and eat with that person and they with me. That word repentance, it sounds like a harsh term, doesn't it? It's really a military term. And it means you're walking in one direction and then you turn around and you walk in the exact opposite direction. It means to turn around. You know, this series, we're really looking at the difference between being conformed to our environment versus being transformed. And so if we take that concept from Romans 12, which says, do not be conformed to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. We take that into today's teaching. Well, to be conformed means that we're just drifting. We're drifting towards comfort. But on the opposite side of that, to be transformed means we're intentionally choosing discomfort. So the question is, how do you know if you're being conformed towards sloth? How do you know if you're just drifting? Well, the question for you is, where are you growing comfortable? Where have you kind of just let yourself go? Where are you growing stagnant? Maybe there's issues in your life that you've just swept under the rug for far too long. Wherever that is, you're in danger. You're in danger of becoming slothful in not just one isolated area, but in lots of areas of your life. There's a friend of mine, his name is Dan. You guys may know him. He's on our staff here. I asked his permission to share this part of his story, and I'm gonna tell you why it's significant here in a moment. But 8 months ago, Dan, he realized that he had grown comfortable. He had grown lax in his physical life. He decided, you know what? Hey, I'm good. I don't need to work on those things. I don't need to go to the gym. I don't need to eat healthy. I don't need to worry about that. But 8 months ago, he said, okay, maybe I should take my health seriously. And I'm tired of being slothful. And the change in Dan has been dramatic. I'm gonna show you the change, and I'm gonna tell you why this really matters. So this is Dan's picture from 2 years ago, September 2017. And this is Dan's picture from just last month, September 2019. This is his staff picture. Here's the thing about it. Dan has done incredibly hard, disciplined work. And you know, losing weight and getting healthy, it may not seem spiritual, but let me tell you, it is. Dan's discomfort has spilled out into all of his life. And so he's not just grown uncomfortable with his physical health, he's begun to grow in lots of different ways spiritually. And in fact, it didn't even stop there. Dan has become an inspiration to us on staff. And for those of you who know him, there's a great chance he's inspired you too. Because if you ever go to lunch with Dan and you see what he eats, suddenly you look at your hamburger and french fries and go, maybe I should make myself more uncomfortable. And you look at Dan's calendar and the way he spends his time and the focus he has in his life, and you go, well, maybe I should make myself more uncomfortable too. See, that's the spillover effect that this has. When you choose to put yourself in uncomfortable situations and do what you know you need to do in order to grow, then you begin to affect everybody around you. But here's the one thing that I want you to take away from today. And maybe you already know that one area of your life where you're going, you know what, Ben, I've grown lax. I've grown comfortable. I've put it on cruise control in this area. But maybe you don't. Maybe you're still trying to figure that out. Here's the question or the thought that I want to rattle in your mind all through this week. It's this: if I'm good, I need to grow. If I'm good, I need to grow. What area of your life would you say, you know what, I'm good. I'm good. I'm okay there. I bet you already have it in your head. And you know what the danger is if we ignore this? Because maybe you're asking yourself that question. Look, I've said I'm good for a long time. Whether that's in your marriage or your job or your finances or your spiritual growth, you're going, you know what? I've been good for a long time and it hasn't really hurt anybody else. It hasn't really hurt me. You know what the danger is? The danger is that you'd find yourself just like the sloth that we saw earlier, over a river. And either nobody's there to help you or somebody's there to help you and you're going, you know, I don't really care. I'm not even concerned about it. Even though everything around you is raging. See, you reach a point in your life where there's a great chance that you can actually become repulsive to others because of your lack of growth. Because of your lack of growth, you can even become repulsive to Jesus, and none of us wants to be in that spot. So my encouragement to you is to renew your mind in this way by asking yourself the question, where are you good? What is it that gives you comfort right now? Where are you on autopilot? Where is sloth trying to tell you, just ignore that, you're fine? that's where you have the potential to grow lax and comfortable. And indifference spreads itself throughout you and throughout your community and throughout your family like a disease. It doesn't just affect you, it affects everybody around you. And so I'm gonna make it really easy for you today. I wanna give you just 3 really easy things that you can do. And again, maybe you already know that thing that you need to do, the thing that you need to go attack this very week. But let me give you 3 things that you can do. Even before you leave, you can register for these things. 1, Kevin already talked about the 4K. So you can actually sign up. So if your sloth, if your comfort is your physical health, then you can sign up for the 4K that we're hosting here. You can be a part of that. Just go to missionaz.org. Second thing is serve other people. See, that's a way that you can actively fight against your desire towards comfort and your desire to drift towards what's easy, is to put your time and your effort and your resources into serving somebody else. You may want to do that week in and week out, like a lot of our volunteers do. Or if you just want to just take one step towards that, we have a serve day coming up in November. It's a great way. You can sign up just in one day. You can make a huge impact on vulnerable children and families right here in our community. So you can fight against your comfort and make an impact in our community in one day. Go to, again, missionaz.org, click the Love Works banner. And I want to give you those cues, those links, because I don't want any of you walking out of here, going home, and then next week comes by and you're like, oh, I should have done that last week, because that's the lie of sloth. The third thing is you can join a group. Kevin already mentioned that. Here's what I know for a lot of you. You've tried that before and it kind of didn't work out. And you looked at that as your divine opportunity from God to go, I guess I didn't need that. I guess I didn't need that in my life, so now I can skip it. Here's the truth. You need it. You need to be surrounded by people that you can invest your life in and that can invest their lives in you. And we've made it super easy. MissionGroupLink.com. You can register. We even have childcare. We want to remove any excuse that you would have to be engaged in the lives of other people. Are you going to choose comfort or are you going to choose discomfort? See, you don't grow when you're comfortable. And sloth's lie says you're good. Let's do battle against sloth today and this week. And as we step towards things that are uncomfortable, we push sloth to the side and we begin to grow in ways that we never thought were possible. My encouragement for you is, you know your step. Write it down and begin fighting against that today. Let's pray. God, we confess that there are areas of our life that we've neglected, that we put on cruise control, and that we think that we can just neglect it forever and then it'll go away or it'll get better. But the truth is, God, we do not want to be like the Laodiceans. And we hear your words, God, and we want to be your people. Oh, God, we want to grow. So as you brought these things to our mind today, give us the courage to step towards things that are difficult, towards things that are uncomfortable. And as we do that, may we grow. And just like sloth can leak out and affect everybody, may our courage leak out because it's driven by the love of Jesus. I pray this in Christ's name. Amen. Well, thank you for being here today. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your fall break, and we'll see you next time.